Hi, my name's Emma Conroy. Um, Darkness Visible by William Styron. I hope I say it right. It was a good read. It was very short, and normally I don't read in general because I have dyslexia, so I have a hard time reading. So the vocabulary certainly didn't help my process of interpreting a lot of the things in the book, but I did get the hang of it and everything. And I took Latin in high school, so the roots of words I can understand, so the context and everything pulled it all together. But I learned a lot about depression through this book. As somebody that struggles with it, I can understand a lot of perspectives that he faced with depression. In page 33, he says, "The pain of severe depression is quite unimaginable to those who have not suffered it, and it kills in many instances because its anguish can no longer be borne." And then, sorry if I say a lot. And even in page 32, when he was describing Randall Jarrell, he said because he was afflicted with a depression that was so devastating that he could no longer endure the pain of it. A lot of people, especially within, like, even in my family or people that I know that don't exactly suffer with depression itself, but symptoms of it, they don't understand that even through therapy sessions or trying to like be medicated and a lot of things, that the pain doesn't necessarily go away, and it comes in many different waves a lot of the time. And even it connects to Donald Antrim's article, Finding a Way Back from Suicide, and then Recovery Through ECT. He addresses the misunderstanding of suicidality. A quote from his article is, "I do not want to die. I wanted to live, but I wanted to live without the constant fear of the pain of my mind." It dismantles the misconception that suicidal ideation is synonymous with the death wish and the mental torment that people with depression go through. It distorts your reality of what goes on around you and how you're valued as a person, especially when it comes to feeling abandoned, which I do feel a lot. Like when I'm alone in my house or anything, or even when I just don't have contact with people and I'm faced with solitude, my mind gets pretty crowded a lot of the times. And I also have anxiety. I suffer anxiety for as long as I could remember, even when I was little. So the anxiety also appears too, where you kind of go into a fight or flight mode and you have a sense of abandonment. And William Styron also reflects on that too on page 56. "The loss of self-esteem is a celebrated symptom, and my own sense of self had all but disappeared along with any self-reliance. This loss quickly degenerate into dependence, and from dependence into infantile dread. One dreads the loss of all things, all people close and dear. There's an acute fear of abandonment." And even his daughter, I believe, she would be alone with his dad, well, with her dad, when like her mom would take like their siblings away for school and stuff, and like a lot of the people were out of the house and they were the ones to stay. She says in her article, "He and I shared a vague sense of abandonment when she was gone. Through much of my childhood, Mom set a schedule and I couldn't possibly keep track of. She tried to fill the gaps, but sometimes the whole apparatus simply fell apart. And when that happened, it was just Daddy and me, less like a father and daughter and more Then, like a couple of cautious shipwrecked sailors, we eyed each other warily. It then worked the situation to our mutual advantage. And they just kind of bounced back or off of each other of the feeling of abandonment and like having that anxiety and that fear and that symptom of severe and clinical depression is that a lot of the times a person, whether they like it or not, they will always kind of feel like they're alone, even though other people face depression and everything, and it's not like an uncommon thing. They all connect in that a person with depression that severe, even, it just builds over time. The pain, you can't like necessarily escape it because it's in your own head, and you could try reasoning with it yourself, but it's just an overwhelming amount, and that's why a lot of people commit suicide. And I've had thoughts about it, not recently, but back during a dark period of my life, especially with other things that were happening. Like, I know William Styron, and like his wife was his grandmother was diagnosed with the metastatic breast cancer, and not funnily enough, but coincidentally, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, not metastatic though, so it wasn't as severe. And my dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and my mom another cancer, but I think I always get it mixed up, whether it's ovarian or, but in that area. And it's a lot harder on the mind when you know, like, cancer, it's kind of curable. But as soon as you hear it as a person with depression and everything, it's kind of like the abandonment gets real, and the pain does too. And I know in the book, William Styron talks about how his psychiatrist was trying to medicate him, but ultimately when he went to the hospital, when he was getting treated there, like, his psychiatrist there said that the medication that he was given made his suicidal thoughts worse and more severe, so it honestly didn't help his depression at all, and he should not have taken it. And I know that Donald Antrim also kind of talked about it in some way. He talked about hospitalization and getting treatment and stuff, which is like what William also went through. But he quotes, "I was not alone. There were others sitting quietly in the common room reading or crying or staring out the window," which emphasizes the solidarity and shared struggle. And it reminds us that mental illness can isolate, but communal healing is possible in structured, supportive environments. And even when you're trying to recover from those thoughts and from that being in that severe phase of depression and being affected by it, like, recovery isn't linear at all. I know for me it took a really long time just to feel like I belonged anywhere and that I can tolerate the pain that I was going through. But overall, I think that all of these articles, like the perspective from his daughter about abandonment and how she like viewed things from an outside perspective about her father's life and everything in the work that he wrote. And then another perspective about how the stigma around mental illness and depression by Donald kind of ties in together, that people truly don't know what's going on with a person and how they're struggling, especially with depression, because it's just an overwhelming amount of pain. And for a lot of people, they don't know how to escape that or get treatment for it. They think it's something that they deserve or something that is permanent to them, even though that there are brighter days and days where you don't necessarily feel it as much depending on the severity of it. And they all kind of break the stigma of treatment and how people view hospitals as like the last really bad resort. And there are bad hospitals that don't necessarily give people the right treatment because of the stigma surrounding mental illness, but they all come together in saying that depression is a real thing. Suicide does happen, and the one way to prevent it is being there for support and giving people the support that they need, whether it is hospitalization or not. William didn't particularly like medications, being medicated for depression, or group therapy. He said the group therapy was not good at all, and he didn't like it. So, there's different ways to treat a person, but the main thing is just to, like, give that support, and you have to just recognize to break the stigma to help these people and to be a better support system for them, because it's an immense amount of pain that they are going through. And there's different factors like feeling abandoned. They lose completely of their self-esteem. They don't know who they are. They can't be independent because they rely on other people to try to make them feel better, because they already don't feel better about themselves. And they're going through a lot. So I think all of them are really good reads. I enjoyed reading the articles. I didn't get to see Styron's interview, but I'm sure that it's a really great interview. And I like the child's perspective that Alexandra gave. And even the book, it helped me kind of understand my own struggle with depression and how there is that feeling of abandonment that I do face a lot, especially within my relationships. But I know kind of now better how to grasp things and try to ease my mind off of it. So